boys and girls, I'm over here. Breathe in that fresh air. It feels great being outside, surrounded with living things, even in the middle of a wheat field and with a squeaking windmill behind me. Welcome to my summer read-along show. As you can see, I've just finished reading the first 100 pages of The Evolution of Calpurnia Tate by Jacqueline Kelly. Actually, I read to page 111. I got so wrapped up in the story, I couldn't help reading ahead. I'll try not to give anything away. I can't wait to tell you about all the neat things we're going to do today. First off, I'll be sharing some strategies to help you maneuver your way through this wonderful story. We'll take a look at some cool photos and show you how to bind your own field journal. But that's not all. We're taking a field trip. So kids, get your bug spray ready. All right, let's begin. What did you think of the first 100 pages? All I can say is, wow, there was just so much to think about. The yellow grasshopper, the bat story, the hummingbird incident, the Texas heat, and then the opossum that lived on the outer wall of Callie's bedroom, not to mention all of Callie's frustrations. And I'll confess, she stole my heart. But as I read the story, I came across many unfamiliar words. You probably did too. So I began to log my words, ideas, and phrases, sort of like a list of things to think about and maybe look up later on. Here's my list. And what I've done is created a code for myself. So a V stands for vocabulary, a check for detailed descriptions, an asterisk for interesting facts, stars, ideas for myself, like predictions or just things that I want to think about as I read. 2 stars, quoted material that I thought was kind of well written. Question mark, what I don't know, things that I'm curious about. So here's my words, ideas, and phrases I want to think about from pages 1 to 111. But you can see what I did. And I don't have to mark everything up, just some things that I really am not sure about. If you haven't made a list yet, you may want to start one now. There was so much to think about in the first reading. So instead of worrying about the things that you didn't understand, think about what you did understand. You may want to go back and see just how many questions you can now answer. And if you're still confused about the quotes at the beginning of each chapter, well, it's from Charles Darwin's book, The Origin of Species. And our author, Jacqueline Kelly, uses it to sort of like give a preview of what's to come in her chapters. She tries to use that material to make a connection between the issue of living things in our world and the events in her story. A very clever writing style, I might add. And finally, was there anything that surprised you? What surprised me was that I thought I would dislike the grandfather, but it turned out he was one of my favorite characters next to Callie. Maybe you felt the same way. What makes the story so unique is that it is packed with scientific names. Here are a few photos of living things Callie encounters. Here's a picture of a cuttlefish. The grandfather referred to it as the beast in the jar. Now I can see why. The cuttlefish is actually a marine animal and is not considered a fish. Instead, it's a type of mollusk. This sea creature has no outer shell. It grows a special shell inside its body called a cuttle bone. They measure about 10 inches, and its eyes resemble the letter W, and most frequently referred to as the chameleon of the sea. Besides that, guess what? They're edible. Delicious. And I'm sure you've seen these pesky worms. In our story, Callie refers to them as webworms. We call them tent caterpillars. Clusters of them live in large silk webs anchored to tree branches. These worms are capable of defoliating entire forests. A hummingbird's nest is a rare find. It is often mistaken for a tree knot. The nests are tiny, measuring about 1.5 inches, and inside the diameter is almost the size of a walnut shell. As you may imagine, the eggs are so tiny they could probably be compared to jelly beans. By the way, if you actually find a hummingbird's nest, you should leave it alone, as the bird may want to reuse its nesting materials. These migratory birds are protected by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918, so by all means look, but don't touch. Wolf spiders range between 1.5 to 2 inches in length. Their colors are brown or gray. The mother typically carries the egg sac around with her. When the young spiderlings hatch, they climb aboard and stay on her back until they are almost grown. These spiders are not poisonous, though certain people may have a localized reaction to their bite. Damselflies are flying or aerial insects with slender, graceful bodies, mostly found in shallow and freshwater habitats. Their wings are delicate, filmy, and net-veined. One way to distinguish the damselfly from the dragonfly is by their thinner, needle-like abdomens. Their colors are stunning and vivid, while wing spans among the 2,600 damselfly species range from as little as under 1 inch to about 7.5 inches, as in the giant damselfly found in tropical areas of Central and South America. The gossamer winged butterfly is the second largest family of butterflies, with about 600 species worldwide. Their bright, delicate, shimmering wings consist of blue and copper hues, including hair streaks, sunbeams, and harvesters. And in general, they have a metallic gloss. Their size is about 5 centimeters, while in their larva stage, some of these butterflies depend on ants for protection. Carrion beetles are generally known as the burying beetle because they are associated with the disposal and recycling of dead small animals. These beneficial black or orange insects measure anywhere from 1.5 inches to 1/2 inch. They can move the body of a small dead animal to a suitable burying place. There, they take away the soil from under the animal and bury it. The beetles then lay their eggs on the body and their larvae feed on it. Speaking of which, what exactly did the grandfather do to send Minerva reeling from his library? Poor Harry, but it was probably for the best. Could it be that he showed her his beetle collection? Maybe she was grossed out by it all. I don't really know for sure, but that part was certainly very funny. Or maybe the armadillo did her in. Well, I hope I've left you with lots of things to think about. Up next is making a simple bound field journal. Here's what you'll need. Embroidery thread, any color that you like, 5 sheets of computer paper, a large handheld needle, scissors, a marker, a pencil, a ruler, some sheets of construction paper, again any color that you like, and some glue. And basically what you're going to do is take your sheets of computer paper and you're going to place corner to corner and press very, very hard, maybe push your fingernail against it to make a very sharp edge, a fold. And you're going to do it 5 times until you've done all 5 sheets. Corner to corner, and press it as tight as you can. When you've completed that, you're going to place them one inside the other, just like I've done here. Straighten them out, and then set your ruler right up against the inner part. And you're going to find 2 inches and put a little dot. 3.5 inches and another little dot. 5 inches and 6.5 inches. As you can tell, they're about 1.5 inches intervals. Then take your handheld needle and poke a hole. You can actually poke the holes a sheet at a time, or you can gather them all at the same time and poke right through. I have a piece of cardboard here, so I can actually penetrate the needle right through the paper. Make sure that this part you've done a good job with it. Then the thread actually just has to be 3 times. 1, 2, and 3 times the width of the computer paper. Make a knot at the end after you've threaded it, and now you're ready. Go to the back and place the needle in the back hole and come right up through. That's your first hole, like so. Then go down the second hole and out and pull it nice and tight, like so. And now back in on your third hole and place it right through. You may want to hold on to it because it does move around, as you can see. Back up, third hole, and right down into your second hole. And then what you want to do is tie it off. So you can cut your thread, and that was pretty easy. And then you can pull it really tightly. Okay, all right, and so you have your stitched journal. Take your favorite color, construction paper, same thing. You're going to fold it corner to corner, make a sharp edge, place it inside, fold it back a little bit, take your glue stick or any kind of glue and just make a little X, some lines. And press it down. And you can, if you wish, put some glue on the other side as well. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And don't worry about it being perfect, okay? This is for you to have fun with it. And so here is your journal. Here is one. Here is another one that I've made. And then here is mine, because now what you want to do is take your marker, as you can see what I wrote, and you're simply going to write whatever you want, but I call it my field journal. Let's take a look inside of mine. So, I have a little title page inside and actually a dedication page. And here's my first entry. I have my date, June 29th, 2010, around 5 p.m. Location, my side yard. The sketch, it's those little white butterflies, about 2 inches wide, and I put lots of details. It was actually hovering over a plant which is called a catmint, moving very, very rapidly, collecting its nectar. Here's another one that I did. This is on June 30th. Location, rock garden. Sketch, some type of beetle. Well, I didn't know what it was, but I did look it up and discovered that it's a potato beetle. Kind of pretty. And then July 1st, location was actually my garage door. I sketched, which he looks pretty big. It's a juvenile grasshopper, about 1 inch long, and I know that they get bigger throughout the summer. But he had 2 brown stripes down the side. So this is what you can do. You can make your own field guide. All you need to do is log the date, location, and sketch. This journal will certainly come in handy when we go on our field trip to the Stony Brook Millstone Watershed in Pennington, New Jersey.
This, and you just see the bottom of its beak. So last time, you know what it is she just fed.
Okay.
So they may not stick their heads out. Usually if they hear a little noise, they come popping up and bang. Pretty easy. Tap this. It's a flycatcher. It's in the flycatcher family, so their beaks are sort of flat and broad. That's because it sees that we're nearby. The last, there it goes.
See if you can. Okay, now
You can hear the babies. They're insect eaters. The real interesting thing about these birds is that the only other time I've seen them nest, they're 50 feet up in a tree. This is not apparently real unusual for them to be here, but the cavity is about, the hollow in that tree has got to be about 16 inches deep, and it's just filled it with stuff. One of the things they like to put in there is snake skin. They'll find the shed skin of a snake. Nobody really understands why.
Snake that I found in my
So,
garden.
so it's just a curious thing. It's a fascinating bird. They don't have an elaborate song, but that little call is what we hear. That call. And this is the way it is in their backyards. You'll have you might have a robin.
Is that a cardinal?
That's a cardinal back there.
Yep. Yeah,
Cardinals
I
are tough. Cardinals.
cardinal.
We have a lot of cardinals here. They absolutely nest here. They nest in dense thickets, and I haven't found a cardinal nest yet this year. The key to finding a bird nest is hanging out and watching the birds. Where are they going? If you see them going in and out of a shrub, for instance, there's not really food there. They're getting food. That's a bird. These flycatchers are getting food from the air. They perch in the tree, fly out, catch stuff. A lot of birds feed on the ground.
So guys, you just saw a
Great crested flycatcher.
great
Crested flycatcher.
crested flycatcher, and I think it had a grasshopper in its mouth. It was moving pretty quickly, but it was pretty awesome to think that that bird is nesting within the trunk of that tree, way down, some 16 inches or so. So now we're moving on to catching some bugs. So if we want to collect insects with a net like we have here with our naturalist, he's going to tell us exactly what to do. So tell us.
This is a sweep net. Oh, here goes a little butterfly right here. This is a spring azure. This little blue one. The sweep net is called a sweep net because that's literally what we do.
So it's a sweep net.
We're going to sweep through the grasses.
Okay.
Right now, I saw a little butterfly. I saw one ladybug, but there's millions of insects out here.
Sure.
So a quick way to get a sampling of those creatures and find out who they are is to use this net. So I'll just start here. I'm going to sweep back and forth. And you don't stand in one place. You keep moving, so I'm sweeping different things. I'm sweeping low. I see flowers, so I'm going to sweep through the flowers because flowers provide some nectar for nectar-loving insects. And then when I'm done, I can fold this. Now I don't see who's in here, but I folded it closed, and I'm going to turn it over. And if there's a bee in here, it's not going to be out for revenge, but it will want to get out. So if there's a bee, I'm going to let it get out of the way.
Right.
But other than that, we'll see what's here. Lots of gnats, lots of flies, lots of spiders. Oh, this is a great one. Here's a tree hopper related to a grasshopper, shaped like a thorn. Shaped like a thorn.
Hopper.
So it can sit right out in the open. A toad, a spider, a frog doesn't even recognize that as food.
You can see its
And
little legs moving.
And if it gets in trouble, if you just touch it, whoop,
Oh,
I'd
there
say
it
if it gets in
goes.
trouble, it moves on.
Pretty cool.
Grasshoppers, some
Look at this.
longhorn grasshoppers
Oh, that was a great one.
out here. The grasshoppers are
Look at
really
this
starting to grow.
Green, so green. By my house, they're kind of yellow, which is interesting.
Here's a tick too for
Yep, we
people
don't want that.
who are familiar with them.
Still want it on you? There
No,
it is.
get them off. Let's see
Okay.
who else. Lots more grasshoppers. The grasshoppers are so common here. We actually go out in the fall and do grasshopper programs because there's so many. If you look right now, a lot of these meadow grasshoppers are just a 1/4 inch long. Here's a ladybug with a mite on it.
Yeah.
It just landed on the
Saw that.
camera cord.
This
It
looks
lasts.
like a potato.
That is actually
Is
a stink bug. It's a
Oh,
stink,
it's a stink
bug
bug.
larva. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's a young one, and it may be a brown one or a green one. Here's a flower beetle. This is kind of nice.
Wow.
So
Pretty
what's fun
cool.
about this? You can do this. These are your neighbors, and most people tend to get a
Wonderful.
little concerned when they see these critters around their house or in their garden. But everybody has a place. Here's a great one. Here's a 14-spotted ladybug,
Wow.
which is actually rather common here, but a lot of people don't even recognize it as a
Never
ladybug.
seen that kind before. That
Nope.
is fantastic. Look at that. Pretty cool.
So this is it's a bumblebee hive, and what's interesting, hopefully I won't get stung. I just want to get close enough so you can see this. There, you'll see a hollow hole. This was once upon a time a vole nest. When I say once upon a time, in the winter, a small mouse-like creature built a nest here. It was sort of like a grass hut in amongst all the grasses. In the meantime, or sometime during the winter, a fox discovered this. And fox is in survival mode. There are more voles than any other mammal in North America, and I think one of the main reasons, one of their main functions is they form a real solid part of the food chain. So in the winter, all kinds of things eat them. Foxes love to eat them. Dug up the nest. All of these grasses here
Right.
are actually the remnants of the nest. There's a hollow in here.
Okay.
I think our presence
Because
is
the
keeping.
grasses look a little shorter here,
Yeah.
so it looks like it was pulled out from within.
So the
Deeper.
fox pulled that out and ate however many voles didn't get a chance to run away.
Huh.
End of story. Until this spring, a queen. It's funny, they're not flying around now. As soon as we walked up, there were a couple of the bumblebees. A queen bumblebee came, found this spot, said, "This is perfect." So she lays an egg, lays some eggs in here. Here's one now. Here's one now. Wondering, okay, what's up with us?
Yeah.
Here comes another one coming in from the side.
No
It's
way.
really cautious. They, if one hovers long enough, you'll see they're collecting pollen. So their hind legs are loaded with pollen. That's what they're feeding their larvae. And they're in here. They're generally not aggressive, but if you go to anybody's home and mess with them, whether it be by accident or on purpose, you will discover that they could be aggressive. So I'm not really at risk here, but they're a little bit nervous. If I were to put my hand in there, they would tell me that that's a bad thing to do, and I would say things I shouldn't say.
Okay. Pretty cool. So one home becomes a home for another living species here. So basically we've had 3 different species living in here.
Well, one living in there, then one feeding there, and now another one living in there.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, we're going to the butterfly garden?
All right. This is a reminder that we do share the planet, and it actually showcases how you can invite nature to your house. So,
What is this?
what is this? What is this?
Is that just a dried leaf?
This right here?
Yeah.
That is a bumblebee.
What happened to it?
No idea. And there was an ant on it. So
Okay.
this is
must have...
going to become food.
Right.
Um,
So I rarely see them, not living. So I'm wondering what became of this particular insect.
I don't know, it's kind of an odd time of year for it to pass away, because
Right.
it is, the insects live a very short time. Some of the butterflies that are in this butterfly house live 7 to 10 days.
Right.
That's it. So insects tend to be short-lived. I mean, maybe it's just run into its full lifespan. Maybe
that was
something else
it.
happened.
Okay.
You can also see, if you look right here, I'm using this little twig as a pointer, this long thing here, this is its mouth.
yeah.
So this is how it drinks nectar.
Mm-hmm. Like a little tongue that
Yeah,
rolls out.
yep. And if this was alive and it
Where
isn't
would
good,
be its...
right back here, a stinger would come out when it's bothered,
Okay.
and it could deliver a sting. I've been stung by bumblebees that I don't know if they're all that way. It definitely wasn't as painful as other bees,
Okay.
but it left me very itchy the next day. This is called
This
a
little
cabbage white,
Okay.
and some people call it a moth. It's not a moth. It's a
Find out.
butterfly.
I think I see a monarch. No, it's one of the monarchs.
That
way
is a
up
monarch.
there.
Yeah. Now this is an
Here.
old monarch
There
right
it
up
is.
here.
Oh, there it is.
And that monarch is about a month old, so it is at the end of its
Beautiful.
lifespan. But there will be more generations to follow. Inside the Nature Center, we have over 100 caterpillars from this monarch and its brothers and sisters.
What's it doing right now?
It's feeding. This butterfly is just getting nectar. Well, we see a flower head with lots of flowers. It's discerning which of these flower heads, which of the individual flowers has the most nectar in it. And
So I'm going to assume that this butterfly also has a tongue that coils up
Yes.
and then uncoils like a straw and sucks it up,
correct.
right?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. We've seen how we can sweep a field with a net to collect an assortment, just really bursting with life. I would never have expected so many grasshoppers, ladybugs in there, all sorts of goodies, spiders and whatnot. And then here we saw this wonderful collection of the various 2 types of butterflies. And you are such a resource of information, just bursting with so much knowledge. We appreciate that so very much.
Well, it's my pleasure.
And that wraps this session. I hope you've enjoyed our show today. I'll be moving on to the next 100 pages and ending on chapter 16, and hope you will too. Here's a glimpse of what's in store for next week. I'll be sharing new entries from my notebook and continue to discuss Callie's adventures. Then we'll turn the school clock back to 1899 and take a closer look. But that's not all. Today's guide, naturalist and amateur entomologist Jeff Hoagland, will be joining us on our show. Doesn't it just bug you when you don't know what a word means? Ditto. Anyway, I think he's bringing us a few surprises. So tune in, and as always, I'd love to hear from you. Send your wonderful drawings and comments to Summer Reading Show, Post Office Box 397, Belmead, New Jersey, 08502. And if you have time, try making your own journal. Fill it in with all the wonderful wildlife you spot. You just may find a new species in your backyard, or even that elusive hummingbird's nest. Or better yet, try training that earthworm, just like Callie did. Let's see now, Chapter 9, Petey. Peculiarities in the silkworm are known to appear at the corresponding caterpillar or cocoon stage. See you guys.